Hey guys, welcome back to Mason's Manifesto. I know I didn't upload last week, but you don't really care about that. Anyways, so kind of wanted to get into, there's a lot I want to talk about, but I'm not going to make it super long. So the first thing I just want to talk about is like a little update of my life, but it'll kind of like go into what I'm talking about. Excuse me. And so the last few weeks, I think I've been to Target maybe 20 times. And did I buy stuff every single time? 99% of the time, yes. I don't even know why I love Target. It's literally it's basically like Walmart. I don't know. I just love Target. It's also pretty close to my house. I mean, so is Walmart, but I don't know. I also just like to look everywhere, especially in the clothes and stuff, and I don't know. I just look around. Yeah, so speaking of that, one thing I was kind of talking about is, so I want to talk about the pink tax. I don't know. I heard someone upstairs. So when I go, I dermaplane my face. I think that's how you pronounce it. And so it's basically to shave the hair off your face. So obviously if you're a dude, you might use that obviously if you want to shave your eyebrows or whatever. And I usually mostly I just use it to shave my face and then shave, above my lip and then shave and define my eyebrows. So obviously you can go to TJ Maxx and get a really big pack of them, but they're just not as high quality as I like them to be. And obviously if I'm putting a razor to my face, I'd rather them be nice. But sometimes I do get them. But if I'm out and I'm okay, I need to get this. My question is, I started buying the men's one. It's if you go to Target, at least the Target here, and you go in the nail aisle, there's a bunch of different stuff. I don't know why, but there's eyebrow razors there too. And so obviously if I'm okay, I need to get razors, or dermaplane razors, not that men can't use them, I would just I would go to the women's section because I'd be oh, there's razors, I would just go there because, I don't know, makes sense. And I'm a woman, so I'm why not? So, I go and I look and I'm why is a 3-pack of eyebrow razors almost $6 and $7? And for me, that's just first of all, obviously, inflation is a big thing, so obviously I take that into account. And I'm okay, for depending on the pack razors, I can see myself, yada, yada, yada. But I'm literally, it's a 3-pack. It's I'm just confused on why I'm almost paying $7 for 3-pack razors. So obviously, I'm going to look for something cheaper because, I'm sorry, I'm not rich. Second of all, that's no, that's just not acceptable. So, I go and look and there's another section where the makeup stuff is, and it's a skincare. So you can buy the professional skincare, pore stuff. So I'm okay, it might be over there. So I look over there, so I'm okay, these are probably going to be more expensive just because, it is in, the skincare, so it's, a certain brand, and yada, yada, yada. So I check those, there's even more, since they're almost, $10, $9, whatever. I don't know if those are exact prices, but you get what I'm saying. So, I'm with my friend, and she's looking at the nails. So, obviously, I'm just kind of looking. I don't really wear nails. I really don't like them. I, bite my fingers, and I will never stop. It's just, an anxiety thing, so I don't really care. So, I was just looking, and I see these eyebrow razors, and I'm oh my gosh, these are only I think they were 3 something, could have rounded to 4, but we're still under 4 with tax. And I'm oh, perfect. But of course, they're black, and they're men's, they were oh, not used, they weren't oh, you use them only if you're a man, but they were black, they were in an orange little container, or orange packaging, and they were with the other stuff that was for men, I guess you could say. And that for me, it's just I don't understand why. And whatever, going off of okay, if it's a different brand, maybe they're better. So I'm okay, that makes sense. But my question is, why? Because I use for my I have colored hair, not like that. I have blonde highlights in my hair, so I haven't been using the shampoo that I usually would use, but I use a purple shampoo or whatever it's called. So, but for my conditioner, I use, obviously it just works better for my hair because I don't like to have the really it can have a lot of sulfates in it, so obviously I use that. But I'm it's affordable. I think think my shampoo is like $6 at Target. I don't remember. But I use the same conditioner, and I use it from Dove's Men, and I'm like, it's kind of crazy that I'm paying, like, first of all, it's really good. It doesn't have, like, many sulfates in it. It smells really good. It's really lightweight. I really like it. It doesn't leave a lot of, like, product in your hair. Like, it's really nice. And so, obviously, it just works well. But I'm like, why are there, one, not the exact same thing in women's? Because it's not specifically meant for, like, men. I don't, like, it's not to, like, wash down there and wash their balls. Like, no, it's just a shampoo. And I'm like, why is this not in women's? Because I would look for it in women's. Not that I don't really care about the scent. But, like, but I'm like, even if you do go to women's, the shampoo, and obviously, I'm talking about, like, plain shampoo. Like, Dove shampoo or whatever. Like, why is it $9 to $10 in the women's section? Because it smells like, pink La La Land down there. But in the men's section, it's like $3 or $4 less, same size, but it's like working all day in the coal mines. Like, it doesn't make sense. And obviously I get, like, for some women's products that obviously have, like, different, like, the purple shampoo, like, obviously I understand that's going to be more expensive, because not just because you're a woman, it's just because it has different products in it, it's more expensive because of that. So I obviously get that. But I'm sorry, if I'm trying to look for a body wash, and I'm going to the body wash section, because obviously they have, like, all the body wash together, but, like, there's, like, the men's section, and they have all the razors and all the stuff like this, and I'm just like, okay, so, like, if you look, and I'm like, oh, wow, let me get this Native. Okay, this Native, $6. It smells like forest evergreen, or, like, I don't know. It just smells like a typical man, or, like, it doesn't have, like, pink, prissy, ooh, so sunflowers, and, like, it's $3 less, but then I go to the women's section, and they do the exact same thing. There's nothing special. It's literally just the scent, and you can't tell me that a flower scent or a clean, fresh linen scent in a coal mine all day, I don't know, blue-collar worker scent, don't cost the same to make. And even if they do, not $3 to $4, because I'm telling you right now, the price obviously I'm paying for is not even what you're making it for, so it doesn't matter. So I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. And the other thing that I really get annoyed about is, like, the razors. So obviously there is going to be different types of razors for certain things. Like, there might be, like, for a razor for your face, for the beards, a razor to shave down there, and obviously that's going to be different, depending on if you're a girl or a man or whatever. But, like, typically, if it's not like, oh, this, like, there's not, like, a formula, and then that's going to be like, if you use this and you're a woman, you might get, like, syphilis down there. Like, no. It's just, it's more geared towards. But my thing is, why am I getting a 3-pack of razors? And I mean plain razors, like, Target name brand, or, like, just some random name brand. They're pink. They're just plain, nothing special, like, I think 3 blades, and that's it. And, I'm paying $6 to $7, but I can go to the men's section and get razors that work better for whatever you're using them for. And, it's 5 blades, but it's $1 more with 5 of them in there. And I'm like, yeah, you can talk about the argument of, like, oh, men don't really shave as much, so, like, those 4 last them a while, like, women shave a lot, yada, yada, yada. But I'm like, okay, if you're going off that, then let's take the exact same Target brand 3-pack razor. One is purple, one is blue, or one is white, or one is black, whatever it is and why am I paying $3 more from the women's? Like, same thing, same razor, same company, like, and I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. But obviously, as a woman, that they're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to go to the men's section and buy my razor. Like, you're just going to go in that section because obviously they have other things that you're going to want to buy and stuff like that. So I'm like, and obviously, most of the time, we're going to buy it. But it's like, obviously, you have a choice to go buy the men's stuff. Obviously, it's your choice, whatever. But I'm like, we wouldn't have to decide, like, I wouldn't have to do that if, things were taxed and put on the same thing. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, obviously, you can talk about the whole arguments of, like, oh, it does different things. Oh, men don't really shave, yada, yada, yada. But I'm like, either way, I'm sorry, if you take 2 products that are doing the exact same thing, and the woman's is just costing more. Why? Because it's pink and scented like bubblegum delicious. Like, that's just stupid, in my opinion. And inflation already, like, it's already so expensive to just live in America, unless you're making like 100K a year, and even people that are making 100K a year still struggling, you know, like, and I'm just like, I don't really have the money to be spending on that. And then another thing, talking about the pink tax, is just like, that's just annoying for me. I don't really understand why I think companies would be liked so much more if they weren't like like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm like, okay, I get it for the appeal, I get it, like, you're making money, like, I can hate on you, but I can't hate on you because your people are still buying it. So, but I'm just like, why? Like, what is the whole like thing about it? And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. So another thing I wanted to talk about was like, okay, like, for example, women obviously have periods. And so obviously, you know, I'm not, you know, I think, you know, as a woman, having a period is like a really great thing to have, because like, you know, you can have a baby and like yada yada yada, and like, it is a blessing and a curse of however you want to do it, but, or how to think about it. But my thing is, obviously, we didn't wake up and choose, wow, yes, I like, and the women were like, yes, I'm gonna be a woman and I'm gonna get my period every month. Like, no, that's not a choice. And so obviously, you know, it's not a choice for us. So my issue is, you know, if you want to have the whole argument of like, sanitary items should be free, yada yada yada, whatever. Okay, you know, in a society, I just don't think they would ever be free. And so, you know, that's not my issue. Like, I really don't mind paying for it, because I'd rather, you know, pay for the specific one that I need that, you know, fits my needs and what quality and what brand and stuff, than have it be free and them all said the same and then it's just horrible. So that's not the issue. The issue is, because especially with inflation and just in general, you know, it's the time of the month, you go to Target, you know, you want to get your things, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get a box of tampons, you know, to use when you're, whatever, if you're playing out, I don't know, doing a sport, wherever you use them, or you just use them. I want to go get my pads. Why am I paying $12, almost $15 if I'm not getting the Target brand, or just like the basic brand for pads? And for me, it's like, yeah, obviously I don't mind paying, but not when I, you know, bought 2 items that, you know, I can't just not use, to go, and then I leave Target and I'm spending $35. For me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, obviously, and I think, and like a lot of the issues, like obviously in other countries, is like, they don't have access to these, or especially in like prisons and jails and stuff. They're like, oh, well, like, on your period you're only allowed, or like if you have like commissary you can buy them, but like obviously we provide them, but like you're only allowed once. Like, well, if they were a lot cheaper, like when they're mass produced or whatever, they get through the jail, if they were a lot cheaper, then they wouldn't have to worry about it. They would actually be able to give the woman what they need, because obviously you can't control that, and you shouldn't have to as a woman. You know, obviously, like, having a period is, like, a really hard thing to do. Like, it is, like, a hard, you know, whatever. But it happens. Like, you, like, yeah, you can stop it and stuff like that. But I'm like, why do I have to go? And, you know, and people are like, and, you know, like, men or whoever make these arguments are like, oh, well, like, you don't have to buy that brand. Like, yeah, okay, well, I don't know. All right, when you get your arm cut off, let me take you to Medicare instead of the hospital. Like, you don't want to use, like, you want to use the stuff that's going to, like, first of all, the whole experience, just, it's uncomfortable. Like, you don't want to go through it, hurt, whatever. So, obviously, you're going to want something that provides comfort when you're bleeding out of your vagina every day. I'm sorry. Like, sorry, not sorry, but, and they're like, well, like, you know, women, like, you can get the period panties, like, you can get the diva cups, you can get this, you can just free bleed, like, okay, yeah, but not every person will stick a plastic cup up there and have it collect your blood. And then, you know, or not, some people have things to do, like go to jobs and, you know, do things. So maybe we don't want to free bleed all of our pants because, you know, and they're like, well, like, it's not that bad, like, a yada, like, as a society, we should accept that. Okay, that's funny that you're saying that, because when women, I can't leave the house without wearing a bra and being looked at 10 different ways. So don't even try to make that argument, like, it doesn't make sense. And my thing, I was like, what do you have against, well, obviously we know what you have against women, but, like, what do you have, like, why not make it cheaper? And I'm like, you are profiting so much, like, it's not even funny. I don't know. It's just, like, for me, it's just really annoying, especially getting older. Sorry. And just seeing it. And it's not because I'm using my own money. It's just, like, obviously getting older and seeing the state of the world and just stuff like that. It's just, like, I'm just, like, why? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. That just, like, really, the whole entire thing just, like, is really annoying. And that's why, like, I do love the companies that, like, are run by women, and they obviously, like, make it more, accessible, or, like, give a lot of free out and stuff like that. Because obviously it is an issue in, like, jails and prisons and stuff like that. And, like, like, that's not something you can control. And, obviously they're like, people are like, oh, well, you're in prison, like, you deserve, like, you shouldn't have that comfort. And I'm like, okay, if you want to make that argument all you want, I'm sorry, it's not a want, it's a need, and it's a basic necessity for women. So I'm sorry if you think it's a comfort thing. Like, it's a need, it's a necessity, it's something that happens. So, I mean, it'd be the same thing if you're, like, obviously, like, okay, let's say, for example, you get a sports oh my god, injury, and, you're hurting, you're in pain, and I'm like, oh, you don't need to get that surgery, it's a want, like, you don't need the surgery, like, you can live without your leg, like, you can be in pain. Like, it's, like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, what is the argument you're trying to make here? And, I don't know, for me, it's just, like, annoying, and just being a woman, obviously, it's just, like, it just doesn't make sense. And going to the whole argument of, like, well, what if men had periods, and yada, yada, yada. I think if men had periods, then it would have been free since back in the century, like, if you want to go, like, obviously, scientifically, whatever. But, like, generally, like, if women were the people that produce sperm, and men were the ones to produce eggs, things would be so much cheaper. Because at the beginning of, life and just whatever, men, ruled the world, you can say. Like, they were the ones that, made all the laws and made all this and yada, 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 yada. And I'm just like, it would genuinely be different. And if you don't think it would, then that's on you. But obviously, you can see just in stores that why, like, it just doesn't make sense, like, why men's things are, yeah. So, I don't know. That's a whole thing. But, anyways, so, FD on. I'm very tired. Another thing I wanted to talk about was, okay, so, I don't even remember when I think it was past week. So, obviously, it's Kamala versus Donald Trump now, I think I've talked about this. And so, Kamala picked her VP, oh my god, I forgot his name. I think it's like J.D. Vance? No, I'm tweaking. You'd think I would know this, but I, like, genuinely, Tim Walz. I don't know why I kept saying, that's Donald Trump's running mate, or VP, whatever. So, this whole election, usually I'm like, hey, I would vote for this person, but I don't know if it's just because I've gotten older, more in politics, but, like I've said before, either way, if Kamala wins, the Capitol might get stormed again. If Trump wins, I don't know what's going to happen. Either way, obviously, when it happens, not everybody's going to be happy. But the issue I see here is now, as over the years, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the internet, social media, like I think it's a lot of that too that plays into it. But the issue I see is it's not anymore of like, hey guys, we're having an election. It's Democrats versus Republicans. No, it's like MAGA versus, the black lady that thinks she's Indian and yada yada yada. And so I'm just like, what? Like, why does it have to be that way? Because, okay, let's go back to, instead of being someone who, only supports Kamala, like, obviously, you can be like, hey, I'm a Democrat. Like, I've talked about this before, like, it's a sliding scale. Like, you don't have to, like, I don't understand why it has to be, like, obviously, it is a person versus a person, obviously, but it should be more about, what they want to do, which is obviously them, like, MAGA versus whatever. But then also should be, if she's more Democrat, she's probably gonna, she's leaning towards Democrat and the Democrat ideas and stuff like that. And that's why, like, I just don't understand, like, why a lot of people, whatever. But in this society, okay, so Trump had went on a Twitch stream with Aiden Ross, and they had, like, a whole thing, which for me is just, like, kind of crazy. Like, obviously, it's really good publicity for him. It's very smart move for, both of them and everything like that. But I'm just like, when did we start having our former presidents go on these random side quests? Like, obviously, he's reaching, like, that group of people, like, the younger generation, and kind of fulfilling that gap. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm just really still unsure about the whole thing. I don't want to hate on it because obviously for him it's a really good publicity move. But then I'm also like, I don't want to be the person that's like sounding like your parents, like, oh, we need to go back to the good old days. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm just like, genuinely, like, why is the person that, and people are like, oh, it's still like an interview, like, yada yada. And I'm like, sure, kind of. I mean, okay. I don't know. I mean, I guess. But I'm like, let's go back. Like, why are we having our former president and possibly future president on a Twitch stream with Aiden Ross? Like, that's such a random, it's such, like, it is very good for publicity, but I'm like, thanks, you're going on a Twitch stream, thanks. You learned how to play Fortnite or whatever you were doing, or listening to Ken Carson. Thanks, I love that. But what are you doing for our country? Like, I need you to go ahead, because in the stability, the, whatever America is on right now, not stability, I can tell you that. I'm not really enjoying you being on a Twitch stream in a car, aside whatever you're in, listening to Ken Carson, because I'd rather you be telling us what you can do for this country. But that's how Trump is. He's very like that type of person, like, and like he's just like a lot of the people that are like diehard Trump fans and stuff, like, are gonna vote Trump either way. Like, he could be a black man, they probably still would vote for him. Whatever. Like, he could still be a woman, they would vote for him. Like, legitimately. So, but then on the other hand, okay, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Obviously, I've talked about this. Like, I'm more, liberal. I'm more, But I'm not gonna sit back and just, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, Donald Trump's horrible, yeah. And obviously he is. I'm definitely, like, he obviously is. He's done very bad things. But I'm not gonna only bash that side when Kamala is at her Atlanta campaign with Megan Thee Stallion. So, and I don't want to sound like, oh, that old, like, oh, yeah, like, whatever, why is she twerking at the thing? But I'm like, I still am just, like, a little bit confused, because I'm like, love Megan. I think that's really good. Like, you are reaching out, like I said, to that gap. But instead of having, Megan entertain for us, how about you go ahead and tell us what you're doing for this country? Why I should vote for you. Like, why, like, obviously I'm not saying you can't do that, and I think it's really fun. I really think it's great. But I'm like, what? Like, and people are like, oh, what's the same thing with, like, Obama, or, like, Biden brought in, BTS or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but that was during his office, and it was, like, I don't even know exactly what it was, but it was more like, they weren't like, guys, let's get millions of people and perform in front of them. No. And this is, like, they're not president yet. They're running for president. Like, you're running. You should be spending your time. Obviously that did, like, make her a lot of money, so obviously I get, like, for foundation and stuff like that. But I'm also like, let's go ahead and check off the list of what you're doing for this country. Thank you. But another thing that I have with Kamala is, like, I think obviously she's better than Trump. I think she's, should be the first woman president and the first black woman president. So I think that's very, amazing. But my issue is, like, obviously I think she's a very smart woman. She right now is running off of, like, that. She's very silly and very goofy, which obviously is very negative on the Republican side. But one thing I have with her is, like, a lot of the stuff that she says, like, and obviously Trump does the other thing too, and I'm just a little bit confused, because my issue, obviously I'm not like, here's a checklist if I'm gonna vote for you, because I can't even vote. But one issue I will say that, Trump is a lot more better for, you would vote for him, is, Trump does know money. He is a businessman, he always has been. And so he knows how to deal better with the economy. And I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's a Republican thing, but it is kind of, because, not just because of Trump, but just, like, Republican ideology, like, it just, like, the values and stuff they believe in is more of, like, money, and not money, I don't know how to explain them, probably sounds stupid, but you get what I'm saying. So, like, people are complaining about the inflation, but I will say that, if we're going based off that, and we're also going based off, like, different stuff that's going on in the world, and us being involved, and how we're involved, and how other countries see us, because, and also, yeah, you're better going to want to lean towards Trump, because Trump does make America look like we are a scary country, and I'm not saying that we should be, we're going to nuke everyone like Russia, or China, or North Korea, but you also don't want to be a country that's, like, getting in the middle of stuff that we shouldn't get in the middle of. And also just the whole thing that Trump and Kamala are doing is just, like, other countries looking at us and being, wow, they're a joke. Like, they really are a joke. And I mean that in, like, the best way possible. Like, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it raises the money, but I'm like, at what cost? Because now other countries are literally just, like, looking at us like we're stupid. And so it's just that whole thing that just, like, for me, really, I don't even know. Like, first of all, 2024 has just been such an impactful, crazy year full of I don't even know what. And then on the other hand, we have this, and it's just, like, I'm just, like, really confused, and I really don't know what's going on, and yeah. So, I don't know. So, oh my god, I'm getting on again. Sorry. Okay. So another thing I wanted to talk about was watching the Donald Trump at, like, the black, I forget what it's called, like, the convention, and so, like, just seeing the videos and, like, watching, some of the, like, whatever panel, whatever you want to call it, was really hard for me. Like, it was so embarrassing, and, like, he just was, like, yapping about things that doesn't make sense. Like, and he wasn't even just doing that, but he was just, like, being disrespectful to the people, and, like, it was just, like, really, it was really just a bad whatever you want to call it, not press conference, but it was just, like, really bad. Like, the things he said, and I mean, it's America, so we're pretty fast-paced, anyways, sorry, I have that ringer thing on, but, oh my gosh, I don't know why I lost my train of thought. For me, it's just, like, embarrassing, because, like, why, but then I'm also, like, how can you sit there, because obviously, like, if you're like, okay, Kamala wants to be all renewable, she wants to get rid of fracking. Okay, then, like, if you don't believe in that, you don't believe in that. Like, I'm not gonna really, like, yeah, I can argue with you back and forth, but you don't believe in that. But I'm like, how can Trump say, like, Kamala's not sitting here, bashing every single person. It's not like, those country bumpkins need to die, or this and that, or these country bumpkins, or yada yada. But I'm like, Trump is sitting here and saying stuff about, immigrants, like, I don't know, I keep losing my train of thought because I'm texting. But anyways, oh my gosh, so tired. Oh my gosh, I yawned like 5 times already. But I'm like, how can you sit there and vote for someone that, like, is like, these immigrants, like, they're horrible, they need to go back to their country. And, like, obviously, if you believe in that, whatever, like, I'm not even gonna try to fight you. Like, I will not fight you, but, like, fight you on it. But, like, logically, I just don't understand where he's coming from. Like, yeah, okay, I get in, like, a number and economically, like, stance, yeah, you don't want every single immigrant coming through the country, but I'm also like, okay, these people that are like, keep these immigrants out, yada yada, like, they're taking our jobs. Okay, this might sound bad, but I'm being, like, so genuinely, like, dead ass honest. Are you gonna go pick the oranges? Are you gonna go work at a chicken factory? No, you're not. And, like, to be honest, and my thing is, like, if you, like, it is so hard to get across the border. Like, people, the things that they do in the x-rays I've seen is, like, if you were working that hard to get across, you deserve to be in this country. Like, and I'm like, also, these people they're talking about, like, they're taking our taxes, like, we're max money, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, either way, I'm sorry, your tax money's gonna go to whatever the government wants it to go to. Because at the end of the day, the whole country can be like, we want our colors to be pink and white. And Donald Trump's gonna be like, no, we're gonna make them black and red. Like, or whoever's the president. But so I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, like, as a common civilian that's not, really higher up, like, they're gonna use your tax money for anything. So it doesn't matter. But then I'm also like, on the truer side, like being so, like, real, take every immigrant out of this country, our economy is low-key ruined. Like, y'all want to talk about inflation? Bro, you're going to go and have no bread. You're going to have no milk. Like, you're not going to have these things. And, like, the drug, like, economy, like, that's going to be, like, generally, it's just, like, sorry. It's just, like, what are you talking about? So, like, him just sitting there and calling these immigrants, like, all of these derogatory words, I'm just like, okay, whatever. And, he's been comparing, like, oh, I'm so tired. He's been comparing, like, Biden and this and that and the third, and, like, oh, our numbers, like, immigration numbers, like, yeah. Like, obviously, I kind of get where you're coming from, like, that little small bit, like, like, whatever you're talking about, like, you don't want, whatever. But I'm like, okay, I don't know. It's just, like, a whole thing, and I'm just like, I don't know how you could sit there and vote for someone that, like, obviously, I'm not saying you have to be, like, because there's very few people that are going to agree with every single thing someone says, obviously, unless you're, like, brainwashed into, like, whatever. But, like, I'm just, like, you're not going to, like, agree with every single thing they're doing, but obviously, realistically in this race, Kamala just, I mean, obviously it depends on your beliefs and stuff like that, but, like, genuinely, like, Project 2025 is just so horrible and the things that I know Trump would put in place, and obviously people are like, oh, well, it's not going to happen. Okay, I'm not saying that, like, the minute Trump gets into office, January, whatever, like, I'm not saying that every single thing is going to happen, but obviously, if Project 2025 is a Republican thing and Trump is in presidency, it's obviously more likely to happen. And a lot of those things are going to be pushed forward instead of vetoed. Like, that's just, like, common sense. Like, no matter if the rest of the country is fighting against it, at the end of the day, like, obviously Congress and stuff, like, they still have, but obviously, we've seen with the Supreme Court, they're more, Republican. It's more heavy lean that way. And we could see that with Roe versus Wade. So I'm like, guys, let's use our common sense, let's use our brains. Like, I'm not saying that the second he goes into office, like, everything's going to be, like, amended and every immigrant's going to be kicked out of the country. No. Obviously, we know that's not going to happen. But, like, you just have to be logical. And, like, at the end of the day, everyone's going to, like, not everyone's going to be happy. That's how American politics are. It's just, like, whatever. So, yeah. So, I don't know. That whole thing is just, like, for me, it's just, like, I don't even know. It's just, like, annoying. But my biggest, like, pet peeve about the whole election, whole politics is, like, having, like, everyone's, are they entitled to their own opinion? Yeah, some people shouldn't be. But genuinely, like, I just don't understand how you can sit there and talk about stuff and then just, like, not know what you're talking about. Like, obviously, like, I've said this before, like, I'm gonna, like, you know, hear you out if you have logic, if you have reason, you know, you're going somewhere with it. But if you're just talking nonsense and you're literally contradicting what you're saying, then I'm sorry, I'm not really gonna listen to you because no. So, what the heck? So it's just like, I don't know. It's just like the whole thing for me, like, obviously go on for hours and hours of like how much I hate it. And that's like, for me, like, I would love to go into American politics, but I know by the time I would get into college and whatever I do, like go to law school, whatever, that I don't even know what America will look like, that it's like so hard. And politics and the government is just so really, like, genuinely, like, when some people are like, I want to go into politics, and I'm like, okay, well, you get mad when I step on a B or like an A outside, and like, I'm sorry, but like, you have to, like, politics is it's very sneaky, it's very fishy, it's very, like, you know, every politician has basically done something bad, almost. And it's just, like, it's very, like, you have to be careful, and you have to have a cold heart, I feel like, to be in politics, because you can't get real, like, you can get emotional, you can have your emotions, but it's also, like, you can't, you know, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but then that's, like, one of the reasons, like, why I would not want to go into politics. I feel like I could go and do it. I think I could have that, you know, emotionless, whatever I need to do. But then it's also just you can get thrown in, dragged down. Like, it's just a lot of, like, what ifs and just, like, stuff like that. But then it's also, like, it's kind of hard to, like want to do stuff and be like, I want to stop this, or I want to, like, abdicate. But then it's, like, hard being in politics. So, I don't know. But last thing I wanted to talk about, because I literally just stopped listening to it, and I think it's still going on. So Donald Trump obviously was, like, taken off of Twitter for, like, everything he was saying. So Elon Musk, like, brought him back, or, like, whatever he did. So Donald Trump was allowed back on Twitter. I don't know when this happened. I think it happened today, a few days ago. I don't know. So tonight, or, like, earlier, I was listening to it, like, at 10. Donald Trump was hosting a Twitter space, and Elon Musk obviously was, like, a co-host or like, whatever, speaker. And, you know, they literally just sat on a Twitter space with, like, I think it was, like, 70 million people was the highest. Of just people listening, and they're just talking about, like, interviewing him, I guess, or, like, kind of having conversation. And I really wasn't, like, I was listening, but I really wasn't listening. So just the things he was saying, I'm just, like, really confused. And then just Elon was just kind of sitting there acting like he didn't want to be there. I don't know. That's just kind of how he always seems. But that was also very, like, it was very, like, seeing the pictures of just Trump sitting there with his phone hooked up to it. Like, I'm just like, wow, this is what America is now. Like, this is kind of crazy. Like, I'm sitting on Twitter listening to my former president. Like, obviously, like, Twitter is, like, you know, every politician tweets on there for the most part. But it's just, like, it's crazy that Donald Trump was let back on Twitter. And I know he's making money, like, off of this. That was the biggest thing I think Elon, like, had posted. He was like, this will be, like, the biggest, like, campaign raising for money, yada, yada, yada. So, like, it was just, like, surreal to me sitting there, and, like, it's just, like, really funny to me. Like, if you were to ask at the beginning of high school and be like, wow, would you expect this to be like, no, you're so funny. Like, that would never happen. Well, clearly it did. So that's why I'm, like, after the election happens, like, I just don't even want to know what is in store for us. Either way it goes, I don't know. I'm just, yeah. And that's one thing I do love about America is that there's so many things. Like, I can scroll on TikTok and watch my ASMR home restocking videos, but then scroll again and, you know, get a 3-minute video politically stepped down of, like, I don't know, like Trump's family line. So it's just, like, really interesting and just, like, how quick how quick things happen. I don't really know what's in store for America for the next 4 years. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah. And I think being an adult it's a lot more important because I think obviously it's gonna affect my life depending on what happens. But I think it's also just like if you're an adult, like I'm obviously not saying you have to be into politics and be, you know, someone, but obviously you should vote. But I feel like you also should just be aware of what's going on and being educated. Like I've talked about this before. I think the biggest thing in America is like people not being educated enough, and I think that's what causes a lot of like misinformation and spreading misinformation and a lot of stuff like that. And just people believing, you know, the headlines. If I say, oh my gosh, Trump just got hit with a helicopter, or like Trump just approved, you know, I don't know, like whatever. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's like a really just complex. America's complex. I mean, it's America. It's been like this for a while. So, yeah. But I'm going to try to not talk about politics as much. I don't even know if you guys really like hearing my opinions on politics. I might sound like a douche or whatever you want to call me. But these are just my opinions. Yeah, and so if you haven't already, make sure you follow Mason Manifesto on Instagram. And then I'm also, I don't know if I announced this, but I'm on YouTube. So if you don't really, like, I don't have, like, video of me, but if you don't want to listen on Spotify or whatever. But I'm also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called, and YouTube, and I think Amazon Music or something like that. So just check it out. Yeah, so thank you guys for listening. Bye!